Okay, hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Richard from the Seneca team. I hope you can all hear and see me just fine. Today I'm going to run through a few things that you need to know about Seneca and how it all works with you as parents and also with your children as well, so you can get the most out of it. Now, the way this process is going to work, you'll probably find that you can't, or you will find that you can't unmute yourself on this call at the moment. So the way it will work is if you want to ask questions, which I encourage you to do so, just use the chat, which I can see a lot of you have already found on Zoom. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, if you just click on the screen in front of you, you'll be able to see the chat button at the bottom of the page. And if you want to just use that to ask any questions you have, feel free to start putting those in when you have questions. So without further ado, let's get going. And I'm going to start just by telling you a little about the story of Seneca and how it's come to be. So the two people who found Seneca, two people called one person called Stephen Wilkes and another called Lucas Fedden, were friends at university. And just before I go on, I'm hearing some people saying that there's no sound. Can people hear me okay? Just let me know in the chat if people can hear me. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'm not sure that I hope that person managed to sort it out. But anyway, so these two friends from university got really interested in understanding how to learn more effectively when they were thinking about their revision during university. And what they realized is actually at school, they hadn't been given any really effective techniques for how they should be learning independently and how that should be working. So they set about looking about what the research basically showed about how this can be done most effectively. And then when they read what they read, they were kind of at odds with trying to understand why this wasn't shared with them freely, and they wanted to make sure that it was a possibility for all students to be able to have access to high quality learning, research backed, and using these effective techniques that have been proven through the understanding of how people learn. They wanted to make sure that was available to everyone. So that's when Seneca was born. So just to mention, to start off with right from the beginning of what Seneca actually is, in case there's anyone on the call who's not familiar at all, is what Stephen and Lucas developed is something called Seneca, which is a distance learning platform. And what that allows students to do is anywhere, be that on their mobile, their tablet, their computer, they are able to access online learning courses across 25 different subjects that we offer. And it's all linked to exactly what your kids need to know from what they learn in school. And these, you see that in point one there, some of the best thing about Seneca is it's based on cognitive science. So what is proven to be effective in the research, this is what I'm talking about with Stephen and Lucas were looking at when they first started thinking about Seneca, that automatically happens within the learning platform. So I'm sure you'll see a lot of your kids doing learning strategies at home that you seem on paper good or seem on paper effective, or they think is good for their learning. But actually there's some very clear principles that students should be following to make sure their learning is effective as possible. And Seneca automatically gets students to use those learning techniques to make sure that their learning is effective as possible. Now, the other really nice thing is that from you as a parent's perspective, and your kids might not like hearing this, but you are able to see what learning they're doing, how well they're doing, and when they're doing it. So you as a parent have much more control over the understanding what your kids are up to in school. And it will help, first of all, with those conversations you have at home with, how's school? And I think often the response my nieces and nephews give are, oh, fine, you don't really get anything at all. But it allows you to actually have some basis of conversation, so you're not starting from completely an unknown perspective. Now, also on Seneca, students go through what is called adaptive learning. And that basically makes sure that the content students see on Seneca is completely specific to their needs and their sort of level of learning. So we give students who are doing really well in a particular area, we move them on quicker onto harder concepts. But if a student's struggling, then we identify that and we're able to give that student more support and guidance on how to improve and more support in that area. And lastly, it's free. So you can sign up for an account right now as a parent or as a student, and you can start going and start using Seneca. So there's nothing stopping you doing that right now. There is a premium tier, which I'll talk a little bit about later on in the session. but I'll make it clear when I go from what's free and what's premium. Okay. Now, I talked a lot about these ideas that Stephen and Lucas looked for in terms of understanding the research of learning and what the sort of latest understanding of what's effective. Now, we obviously wanted to make sure that when we were first starting Seneca, is that actually the way we implemented this theory was effective. Because at the end of the day, we were here to set out to sort of create an effective learning platform. And if we didn't manage to do that, there's actually no point in doing what we're doing as far as we saw it. So we completed some research in the form of a randomized controlled trial with just over 1,100 pupils. And what we found was that students who had very similar pre-test results, when we gave them learning opportunities through either independent learning tools like revision guides or looking at Seneca as a sort of more modern, more efficient independent learning tool, what you can see is that in the post-test results, the results are heavily in favor of Seneca. So students did over twice as well as on Seneca as they did with revision guides. So we see that as a validation that the way we've looked at this research and sort of developed our platform is really effective and helps students to learn as effectively as possible. Now, that research was peer-reviewed and published. So if you'd like to read about it a bit more, you can just do a quick Google search, for example, impact Seneca learning. You'll find the research paper if that's of interest. And in terms of what's on Seneca, so obviously I don't know what age your children are, but we cover content right from age 7 up to age 18. And the courses we cover at those ages, so between the school years of year 3 and year 9, it's what's called Key Stage 2 and 3. And that's linked to the national curriculum. So that's what the government basically says students should be learning in those year groups. And then at GCSE level or A level or BTEC level, what we provide is we provide those courses linked to the exact specifications for what the exam boards say the student should be learning. So you may or may not know that the government basically Ofqual say what allow different companies basically to produce exam papers, and they are in charge of quality assuring those exams. And the different schools can choose different exam boards depending on what they want to do. And each of those different exam boards have slightly different content. So if you're looking for a one-size-fits-all biology GCSE course, it doesn't exist. But if you're looking for an AQA biology GCSE course or an OCR biology GCSE course, etc., these are just the different exam boards, and it's exactly what your children need to know for those exams at GCSE, A-level, and BTECs. Now, currently, we have over 4.5 million pupils in the UK using Seneca, and about 250,000 teachers and 50,000 parents. So Parent Platform is our newest platform, which is why the numbers are quite a lot lower for that. But we're really pleased to be able to help, especially with everything going on in the world at the moment. There's a lot of online learning that's happening, and we're glad to be able to support people for free to help learning continue when they're at home. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will actually just show you the platform in all its glory. So here we go. So I'm going to start with the parent platform so you can understand what this looks like. So this is when your children go on to Seneca and they complete learning and they get marks, and the marks get sent to the teacher automatically if the school's using Seneca, but they also get sent to you as a parent as well. So what you can see here is we've got different courses here. So I can see what my child's been up to. I can see the total learning time that my child's been completing. I can also see the average scores that they've been getting. And I can see the number of sessions complete and the number of correct answers. And this is for each of my children. So I've got 2 children here, which you can see have slightly funny names just because they're little test accounts I use. But I've got 2 children. You can have as many as you want. There's no limit to the number of students or children you can add. And then you can also select the date range as well. So at the moment I've got last year selected, but I can choose the last 24 hours, last 7 days, last 30 days, etc. Or I can select a custom date range as well using these little filters. But whatever I select, it will basically show data exactly for that time period, which is then really useful for you to have conversations with your children, as I mentioned earlier, but also potentially spot issues that your children are having really early on. So if you are able to see that their average score is really low in a particular subject, you're able to then maybe have a conversation with school or have a conversation with your child about how you can support them most effectively to make the most out of those. Now, if you're here wondering how on earth do I connect my child to this account, the way it works is it's very simple. It's done through link sharing, and you just click this connect to child button at the top here, and we have a pop-up that comes up and basically allows you to share this link with your children. So what you can either do is you can either copy this link and just send it to them on email or anything like that, or any other way you can share with your children. And the important thing to say is don't just go into your browser, open a new tab and paste it and press enter, because what that will do is at the moment you're still logged into your account. When you go and do that, you'll just need to log out and then log back in again with your child's account, and then click on the link to make sure that they are connecting properly. The other option is if you want to just share directly to email, you just click on here, or if you want to share on WhatsApp, you can do that as well. The options are yours in terms of how you share that link. But when your child just clicks on that link, that will basically connect the two of you together, and it will allow you to see the information on what your child's been up to on Seneca. So as simple as that. You may be thinking, okay, what do these student accounts look like? How does the learning work on Seneca? So as I mentioned earlier, we have 25 different subjects that we offer courses for. This is the courses page on a student's account. And what the student can do is basically come in here and select any of the courses that they want to study. So let's have a look, for example, at let's go for a geography course. Very commonly done GCSE, so let's go for GCSE as well. And let's look at the AQA exam board. Now what I can do here is just go into this course, and as a student, this is where I can do all of my learning. And let's go in here, let's go for this one here. Erosion, transportation, and deforestation. That sounds like a GCSE topic to me. And as a student, I can just click start learning here. And we've got content for students to access. And remember, this is completely free. Your children can come on here and learn the content that they need to. As well as showing you the content, where again, back to this idea of where Stephen and Lucas were trying to understand how learning is most effective, is that we provide you with basically the majority of a learning session is asking questions on the content. And by children having to actively recall information, that is the best way to learn, basically. So you'll see the rest of the session mostly is being able to recall information that students need to know for their exams. So that's great. That's how the students' accounts works. That's how the parent account works and all that side of things. And like, as I say, that's available for free. If you would like to use that and benefit from that, that is obviously brilliant. We're really pleased to be able to support you and your children with that. However, the bit I'm going to talk about next is available through our premium subscription. So the first thing I want to show you is talk to you about our tutoring package. Now, we have 3 different premium packages. The Supreme package gives you access to extra courses and extra learning tools on Seneca. The tutoring package gives you access to extra tutoring options, which allow you to have access to tutors to give answers whenever you need it, whenever there's a question for your children. And then there's also the guarantee package, which allows you to do that, but also gives you what we call a grade guarantee, which I can talk about a bit later. But the best thing to do is if I just explain to you how the tutoring package works, so you can sort of understand that from that perspective. So our tutoring package works in a slightly different way to as you probably think of what a sort of online tutoring service looks like. It's not done via any sort of one-to-one chat like this, and it's also not just like an hour a week and then you move on. And it's also not as expensive as that as well. So what we've done is when we were thinking about how we could support as many students as possible at the beginning of lockdown back in March, we thought basically of a way to make tutoring accessible for many more people, because at the end of the day, if you look at a tutoring cost, it's sort of about £30 an hour, probably more in some places. And if you're trying to do that and pay for that weekly, it is obviously then potentially very, very expensive. but also you only get an hour a week with that tutor. And actually that sort of limits the sort of, unless you aren't asked those questions within that hour, it can be of quite limited benefit. So what we do is we provide you access to tutors, and they are available to answer your questions whenever you have questions, and they'll get back to you within 10 minutes of any question that you have. And you can see all the different subjects we cover. So we have tutors for all of these different subjects available and ready to go whenever you want to ask a question. So as an example here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to just give you an example of a biology question. So I'm going to put in, can you explain the, let's go something, think through my biology GCSE knowledge. Can you explain what auxin? Now you might be thinking there, what is auxin? It is a plant hormone. I only know that because I work in education, but it's one of those things that those random things that you know and you see in GCSE. So can you explain what auxin is for? And I'm going to wait here. Within 10 minutes, I'll have a tutor come back to me. You'll see, it looks like Jack H is already writing. So in terms of who our tutors are, they are basically, all of them are either existing Oxford or Cambridge students, or they are recently graduated Oxford and Cambridge students. So they are very, very smart in terms of knowing their knowledge and knowing their stuff. And they are available there ready for you, and within, as I say, within 10 minutes they will be available to support you. And in terms of protecting your children as well, we've made sure that all these tutors are fully DBS checked, are sort of safe. Your children will be safe on this platform. Now, as well as the different questions you can answer here, while Jack's getting back to us with an answer, I will just show you a few other bits as well. So within the tutoring service, you have access also to different interests. So as a student, if I've got particular interest in coding or design or theatre or anything like that, there are discussion forums for you to, for your children to sort of engage in and talk about this with other students, and also ask questions to our tutors. And also we provide video lessons as well. Also looks like Jack's just written an answer, but I'll show you the video lessons first. So the video lessons basically are there and available for you to, for your children to access. And these are basically sort of 3 to 5 minute videos that your children will be able to come back and look at this bank of resources to be able to learn the different concepts they need to understand within their exams or within their learning at school. And these are done basically on like a request basis. So a student wants to request a video, they can put a request for a video, and then it's done basically on like a poll of the community, the tutee community, and we produce the most commonly requested videos for them. So this is about 4 to 10 a day, so there's lots of videos produced ready for students to look through, and they're all there that you can go back through and look at them as well. So let's just have a look at Jack's answer. Assuming it was Jack here. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So Jack's given us a really great breakdown of an answer to help me understand what auxin is. It's a plant hormone, it's for stimulating root elongation, it's for controlling seeding orientation, it's for rooting, and it's for development of fruit and seeds. And he's given me a nice little diagram here as well, which I can use to understand what auxin does. So thanks, Jack. Let's just say thank you to Jack. And then we'll leave him to his other work. So that's how the tutoring process works, and how your child can get access to the support. Now, in terms of the timings our tutors are available, we provide basically support outside of school time during school time. So we have support from 4 till 9:30 in the evening during weekdays, and then 1 till 7 during the weekends. So that's available there. Now, the other thing that you'll gain access to with the tutoring package is a custom timetable. Now, what this allows you to do is basically produce a timetable that's specific to what your children need to be learning. So you'll see here that I've got basically, as part of the sign-up process, you get given one of these forms to fill in. And the first thing you need to select of note is how many weeks you want your timetable to last for. So I'm going to choose a 4-week timetable. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select the subject I want this timetable to cover. So, for example, biology, AQA, GCSE higher. I can put the different topics that I want to focus on if I want to focus on particular topics. Photosynthesis, there we go. And I can say how many hours a week I want to spend on this topic. And I can do that for as many different subjects as I want. That's my biology done. I want to do my English language as well, say how many weeks I want to study on. And this gets your child away from that, oh, I don't know what to study next, I don't know how to study, because actually this produces a timetable which tells them what they should study, and it links directly to courses within Seneca to help your students know how to study and how to study effectively as well, remember, because we're looking at this research of understanding how students learn. And when you produce all these, when you've completed all this and put in all your subjects, you get something that's produced that looks a bit like this. So the way it works is we have the week down the side here, we've got the different subjects that I wanted to study, the topics, and then just links to different different courses on Seneca, which allow you to gain access to those. And again, you can tick off as you complete stuff down the side here. So this is completely individualized for this student. This is a made-up student actually, but this is completely specific to what I entered when I made this timetable, what I entered into this, into the form at the top here. So it's all there, ready to go for my week 1, week 2, etc. Now the next thing to look at is understanding. I think that might be it. That's kind of all I wanted to show you really. So in terms of, just to recap, remember in terms of what you gain access to for free, we have the parent platform and the student platform that you can access our free courses, if your children would like to do that. If you're thinking about taking our one of our premium options, I've talked a lot about the tutoring package that you get here, and that allows you to have access to tutors on the other end of the line. You can ask them as much as you want, whenever you want, and there's no limits to how that sort of how many questions you go back and forth with your tutors, and you're not just limited to the 1 per week. And in terms of cost, we're able to make it much cheaper because our one tutor is able to help multiple students at once. So when you're talking about £30 an hour for a like one-to-one tutoring video session, you're talking about £30 a month for as much tutoring as you need. So it's a very different time scale. So if you have questions, what I'd encourage you to do is start to put them in the chat. And what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen now and I'll just come through them and go through them with you. So we can answer any questions that you have. So Ellie says, who are the tutors? What are their qualifications? So I hope I answered that earlier, Ellie. But if I didn't, the different tutors that we have, they're all Oxbridge, either undergraduates or recent graduates, and they are fully DBS checked, and in terms of their qualifications, they go through a rigorous selection process to make sure they are suitable for the role, and also to make sure that they're really on it with their knowledge as well, so they can support your children as effectively as possible. So Ellie also says, my son only has science work on Seneca at the moment, but presumably he can use the site to revise other subjects as well. So yes, of course. So we cover 25 different subjects. We cover science, we cover English, maths, but also your subjects that you wouldn't necessarily associate with an online learning platform like this. So things like sociology, PE, food tech, things that you wouldn't necessarily think, as well as sort of the sort of histories, the geographies, the languages, all that stuff. So if you're not sure if your subjects are covered, the best thing to do is if you just create an account for free, and that will basically allow you to have a look through our different courses that we provide. So Rebecca says, what else is on the parent platform? So in terms of what's on the parent platform, Rebecca, we offer you access to the data for your child and the option to connect to your child. And then there's also the opportunity to, if you want to set up a payment for premium, but we try and keep it quite simple on the parent platform. That there's not much else that sort of we allow you to do on the parent platform. It's purely a way for you to understand what your child is up to on Seneca and support them with that. Alice says, what is the difference between the foundation and higher in GCSE options? So this will be a decision made by the teachers in your child's school. So what the foundation tier does is basically it's got less content in it for children to learn. And the result of that is basically there's like a maximum grade you can get. So the highest grade you can get in a foundation tier course is a grade 5 at GCSE, whereas with a higher tier course you can go all the way up to a grade 9. And the difference, as I say, higher tier basically has more content to learn. Foundation tier has less content to learn. So the idea is that the foundation tier is easier there's less content to learn, so it's slightly easier, but you're capped at the grade boundaries that you can get. Rebecca says, I have a son doing A-levels. Should he get a Seneca account? So, I mean, I might be a bit biased when you're asking me the question, because I think it's great, but yes, you can do A-level courses on Seneca. So what I'd encourage you to do is get your son to create an account. As I say, it's free to do so and free to start to learn on Seneca. So get an account, have a look at the courses we offer, check that we offer the courses that your son studies at A-level, and then he can go away and start using them. Okay, Raj says, how do you make or get to the timetable? So to get to the timetable that I showed you a minute ago, you need to be either a tutoring or a guarantee subscriber with us. That's one of the two of our premium packages. And then during the premium sort of setup process, we'll send you a link to that form that I showed you, which will allow you to create one of those timetables. So Sonia says, what is the cost of the premium account and the tutor account? So the tutor account, it depends. So with our subscription costs, there's two different options in terms of like lengths. So we offer either an annual subscription, which is obviously 12 months long, and we offer a seasonal subscription, which is a 4-monthly subscription. So depending on those different options, the price varies slightly per month, and also depending on the different types of premium you go for. So whether you just go for our online courses, or whether you want to have access to our tutoring services, or whether you want to have access to our grade guarantee, the cost is slightly different. So rather than go through all of those different options now, what I'll do is after this session, you'll get an email from me, and it will just give you a link to basically look at the different options and also to understand the different costs as well. Raj says, I joined my daughter to the guarantee plan. Does it offer the entire syllabus in the GCSE courses? So yes, it does. So all of our courses together cover the entire curriculum. So yeah, all the content is there that your children will need. Okay, Finsis, I hope I've said your name right. Is it possible to align lessons with topics being taught in class? So the way that would work is either if you're the teacher in your child's school was using Seneca, they can set assignments for your children, so they'll be able to support them to access the right content at the right time. But in terms of us knowing what is being taught in your child's school at any time, we have no way of knowing that. So what you'd be able to do though is you'd just be able to email one of our, or not email, so use the chat service I showed you earlier to message one of our tutors and just say, I'm looking for a resource or a learning resource on XYZ. Can you send it to me? They'll provide you with a link to that. Okay, question from Alice says, we had a look at the chemistry GCSE earlier and compared the topics with the topics in the book, but they didn't seem to match even though it was the right exam board. So obviously I can't speak for the textbook that you looked at, but our courses cover exactly the right content. It may just be that we broke it down in a slightly different way, so you didn't quite see the link between the two. But all of the content that your children need to know in our through our courses is in those courses. And when we make a course, we always start from the specification that the exam board produces as a document to basically work from, which tells schools what they should be teaching, and we use that same document to basically produce our courses, so all the content is there. Okay, another question from Finsis says age 11 is for what key stage? So age 11 would be, well, it depends what year group they're in, because it's sort of that's an in-between one. So it'd either be key stage 2 if they were in year 6, or key stage 3 if they were in year 7. Okay, that looks like it might be the end of the questions, but if you haven't had a chance to write your question down yet and you still have one, then please do pop it in the chat, and I'll just wait to see if there are any more that come through. But while I'm waiting to see if there are any final questions, last thing to say is look out for an email after this this webinar from me, and that will basically give you an update on some different links and things like that for you to look through. Also, there are questions on pricing. Best thing to do on that, as I said, rather than explain it all, is to just go ahead and start to follow the links in that email, and you'll be able to see the prices. And yeah, if you have any further questions or anything, then yeah, feel free to get in touch with our customer support team. The way to do that is just go onto our website, and you'll see in the bottom corner there'll be a little chat box, and you'll get through to my colleague Olivia, who will be able to support you. Okay, just before I wrap up, there's a couple more questions that have come in. So do you do a similar webinar for children? So no, not at the moment, Alice, we don't do any webinars for children. We provide webinars for parents and also for teachers, but nothing for children at the moment. But if your child wants to understand how to get started, when they create an account, it does talk them through the process of getting started. But also, if that's not helping, then there's also our help pages, which give videos for students to follow, so that they can learn how to do the bits they need to do on Seneca. Another question from Finsis. Finsis says, age 14, which key stage would that be? So again, 14 is actually the other cut-off point. So that would either be key stage 3 if they were in year 9, or key stage 4 if they were in year 10. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you found it useful. And as I say, keep an eye out for that email after the session. And if you have any questions, just feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you very much for joining.